ACCUCARE Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine in Brick, New Jersey offers a state-of-the-art facility with all the best and current treatments. With athletic trainers, massage therapists, and doctors of physical therapy, ACCUCARE has everything you need to stay healthy and perform at the highest level. Cupping, stretching, laser therapy, compression boots, and a full-body cryo chamber are just some of what you can expect at ACCUCARE. Check out their website and social media links in my bio. No prescription is needed to see them. So call them today and start feeling and performing at your best. Again, thank you to ACCUCARE for sponsoring the Shore Football Report. Welcome to the ACCUCARE, the Shore Football Report Week 3 show. I'm Rob Davis. That's Scott Stump. And we have a lot to talk about in the Shore Conference for the Week 2. So, Scott, this was the first time I was ever on the sidelines with you as a reporter.
Now you get to see what we do the whole game while you're running up and down the sidelines with the headset on.
Those of you who don't know, I was a head coach for 18 years at Barnegat, and he would always listen to me complain during the game. The calls didn't go our way, blah, blah, blah. But you were so good. You were a straight shooter that would tell us the way it was, and you would walk away.
I just thought it was funny being at Point Borough and seeing you happily getting along with the officials. Like, hey, this is great. We're all friends now.
Yeah, you're right. But it was really something special. It was very contagious because I want to bring ACCUCARE, who is our sponsor, and I, love them. I can't thank them enough. And did you know that they're working with all the athletes, Ocean Monmouth County, right through the whole clock, but more people are coming in as we speak because of what we're doing here on the Shore Football Report. So I'm excited that they're getting new people going in there, and they're the best. And boy, oh boy, every program needs them because everybody's dropping like flies.
Yeah, I was about to say, seeing all the cramping and the throwing up the last couple of weeks, there's definitely plenty of potential ACCUCARE customers out there.
Scott, I think it's contagious. With all the cramping, I turn around, you're stretching your back out. We have other reporters rolling their shoulders. Boy, oh boy, we all were feeling it.
It's funny. I mean, I used to be able to cover, I'd be up at Rutgers at the state finals covering 3 or 4 games back to back standing up. Now by halftime, I'm like, my lower back's getting a little stiff. Like, I got to stretch my legs. Like, I got to get my football legs back underneath me.
I mean, is there such thing that reporters need to hydrate for games too now?
It's Gatorade. Just a quick Gatorade before the game.
During the weekend, everybody was paying their respects to 9/11, and rightfully so. A lot of great programs out there. We're doing some great things, keeping the memories alive. It was very special. I saw all the videos where everybody was at. So we're always thinking about those guys.
And I just remember back to that actual time. I was covering Shore Conference football back in 2001, and how everybody struggled. Should we play this upcoming week? Should we not? That was a really difficult decision, but I felt like during such a brutal time, and a time when, especially a lot of Monmouth County programs, players had parents who died, relatives, because a lot of them commuted and worked up in New York City. That was just, football was kind of that little bit of a distraction for that few hours that week, that allowed people to take their minds off, the worst tragedy of our lifetime.
I was coaching at Lacey, and it didn't hit home to the kids until they started realizing sports was taken away. because there was no pro sports. Remember, ESPN had nothing to talk about.
Right.
And then we didn't have practice. It was a bye week. We were playing in Neptune in a bye week. So it happened during that bye week. So that's when it started hitting home with the kids like, whoa, what do we do with ourselves? Momentarily, we were in a state of panic. And thank God, I would have never thought that 20 something years ago that we would be kind of okay right now, because at the time we were nervous.
Right. Right. And I mean, and it's just good that the memory has been kept alive, because you think about, those players back then who were teenagers are like 40 years old now. So, a lot of the younger guys that are playing now, they weren't even alive. So, that they know what that day was all about, and that, it's still commemorated, especially just in this area, in the tri-state area. It's great that they, everything that they keep doing every year to make sure to mark that day and remember it and never forget it.
Yeah, I love the helmets with all the flags on it. I think Southern has one. Wall, Manalapan. Well, Manalapan Wall, they look the same except the W and the M. But, everybody paying tribute. It's great that, people are still, focused on those memories, right there. And that's what I love. Before the game, everybody's united. There's no, opponents when we're saluting to the flag, doing all that stuff. And, I always said this, Scott, that the real heroes are not LeBron James. It's not Tom Brady. When we have an emergency at our house, we don't scream out, "Hey, is Tom Brady around?" We ask for the police officer or the nurse or the doctor, and they're the true heroes.
No, absolutely, and they have a presence at every high school game.
Yeah.
Whenever something really bad happens on the field, and God forbid you need an ambulance, you need an athletic trainer to rush out there and help you. I mean, those people, that shows how important their jobs are, even just working at a high school football game.
They're the ones who should be making the $1 million. Instead, I don't hear police officers saying, "Can I sit out? I want to rest my body for next week," or something like that.
But now you're getting into grumpy old man territory. You're going to start yelling at the clouds soon. But the good thing is, it was a great weekend of football. In addition, we were at Point Borough, Manasquan. We'll get into that. I went to the Monmouth University Fordham game on Saturday, which was incredible. 52-49, 1,400 yards of offense. And there was a lot of former Shore Conference stars in that game. It was a ton of fun to watch. So it was a great weekend of football that I can't wait to start breaking it all down.
Let's make a truce. Let's agree on something. Let's talk Shore Conference football, and let's never bring up the New York Jets ever on our show, ever.
Yeah. I watched the full game yesterday. Or the other day. That might be the only full game beginning to end that I watched this whole year.
It's ridiculous.
If the weather's even mildly nice, I would be outside doing something more productive with my time than making myself angry for 3 hours.
I may be gardening now every Sunday and enjoying it. All right, let's get going. You ready?
All right, Coach. The first game we have to get to was the one that the two of us were both at. Point Borough welcoming Manasquan, Al Sainer Field. Before we even get to the breakdown of the game, big win for Point Borough. How about the atmosphere there? I mean, that's going to be tough to beat for the rest of the year. That was an incredible atmosphere.
Somebody was saying it was 8,000 people. That's a lot of people. I wouldn't doubt it.
The stands were mobbed. There were fans ringed around the fence of the whole field. But, the Panther Pit, that Point Borough cheering student section, they were roaring for the whole game. They had great chants. And, you want to talk about sideline energy? The Point Borough coaching staff, it's like they have 7 strength and conditioning coaches that you see in college going crazy. It's like they're all like that.
When you talk to them, you have to stay away because they hug you, they punch you in the arm. They are so into it, man. There was so much excitement on the sidelines, stands, sidelines with coaches, and most importantly, the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly, this is one that Point Borough I've been waiting for a full year. They lost to Manasquan last year, but they clearly get their revenge. 39-13. Matt Oliphant, their quarterback, just went berserk. 228, 29 yards, 4 touchdowns. They ran for over 360 on the ground overall. I thought the most impressive thing to me was by the end, they weren't even being cued or anything in the triple option. They were just running QB lead right off the center and breaking it for big gains.
Yeah, they did. And Shane O'Connor did a great job stopping Brett Patton and Jameer Howard on the other side. You could tell that Point Borough had a game under their belt, and Manasquan didn't. They were kind of hurting a little bit with Cramping. It was kind of affecting them. But, yeah, they did well defensively. Offensively, their line's a machine led by Cole Skinner. They did a really nice job. It was very impressive when they have a quarterback that can go 70 yards. That's the big difference.
That's the thing. I mean, normally that QB lead play is designed to get 4 yards at a time, move the chains, kind of pound it up the middle. But Oliphant is such a good athlete that if he gets to the second level and bounces it outside the linebacker, he might take it all the way to the house, which he did on a couple huge runs. I mean, he was unbelievable. But yeah, the interior of their line really dominated.
They do a great job getting their ball carriers in second level before they're touched. Oliphant, I didn't realize how big he is. He's a big quarterback.
Yeah,
big quarterback.
But I mean, they were getting Salento out to the perimeter, so you had to loosen the defense up a little bit, and that's the option. You try to take that away. Now they're coming right up the middle at you. And you also had Croce, the big fullback, leading the way. He had a few nice carries. So yeah, they were. But the interesting thing I found was after the game, we were talking to Brian Staub, their head coach, and Ryan Canary, the offensive line coach, kind of how great of a game by their line. And the first person they both bring up is their defensive coordinator, Shane O'Connor, saying, no, the real story was us slowing down Patton and Jameer Howard, that the fact that we were able to bottle up one of the best quarterbacks in the short conference to them was the bigger story.
Yeah, without a doubt. They did a great job all phases of the game.
Like you said, I think Manasquan not having had a game before that point hurt them because the cramping and the stuff that we talked about last week, they hadn't gone through all that. And I mean, Brett Patton threw a perfect pass on their first play from scrimmage in the game to Jameer Howard down the sideline right near the goal line.
He was hurting after it.
He runs down, loses his lunch right there, then does it again. And then for the rest of the game was cramping. And I mean, you don't know if he could have been sick and trying to play through it. But yeah, he felt, it seemed like he was definitely struggling with that, like almost the whole game. And the fact that, the Point Borough pass rush was chasing them around out there for a lot of that game. Aiden Ward, Connor Reynolds. I know that the sophomore Slade Sammaritano had a sack. So I think they made them one-dimensional. Manasquan never really seemed to get the run game going, and it allowed Point Borough to kind of send everyone at Patton. But I will say Howard is a real player. Even in a couple of big plays there, the burst that he has, he's a real weapon for Manasquan. I think the biggest thing with them is, getting their line together, getting on the same page, getting the running game a little more established like they have in the past, because I think they were a little undersized. I mean, Point Borough had the size advantage.
Yeah, but I'm not down on Manasquan because good teams make you look like that. They played away first game. They're playing a team that probably is the favorite to win the South Jersey Group 2 state championship. So there was a lot of good football players and good football on that field. So I'll leave it at that. They 1-1. They split after two years. But who knows? Maybe they'll meet up again.
Yeah, could certainly happen. And I mean, one thing's for sure, the atmosphere will be amazing. That definitely was one of the most exciting crowds, and you were even sampling the pulled pork sandwich. You got the full experience.
They treated me well. Speaking of meeting again, there was a game up in Monmouth County. Middletown South, the number 3 ranked team, played number 5 ranked Manalapan, 17-14. They're both Group 4. They both could play in the playoffs. They gave the fans a playoff game right there. Coming back at the end, Donovan Sumney with a swing pass, 8-yard touchdown with 32 seconds left. Middletown South does it again in a comeback win.
Yeah, what are we going to call them? The EKG Eagles. That's 2 heart stoppers in a row for them. They get down at halftime. They get down late in the game, but they, to their credit, their quarterback and Summy and Joaquil, they have all found a way late in games to make huge plays at the biggest junctures of the game. And more importantly, the defense has kept them close and kept them in it and allowed the offense to rally in the second half. And that was a particularly emotional night because Manalapan retired the jersey of their former star, Kyle Mullen, who I remember covering his career. Amazing player, great two-way player, just a great kid, amazing student. He played at Yale and then at Monmouth University. Died tragically while in Hell Week training with the Navy SEALs. So, there was a lot of emotion in that game. And for Middletown South to overcome Manalapan on a night like that shows even more, what's inside that team, that they don't get down for anything. And, even a tough atmosphere on the road on a solemn night, they were able to find a way.
I told you last week, Jake Zawackel,
Yeah.
field goal. A field goal. People look at him as a field goal kicker. He's not. He's an athlete. He's a quarterback. He's a safety, a cornerback. He does it all. He was our player of the week in the division, and he had a great game. And Colin Gallagher is one of the toughest football players that as a linebacker.
16 tackles, 3 sacks. You got to feel like it's still early, but when we're already starting the conversation of defensive player of the year in the short conference, he has to be right near the front.
Got to be. It's got to be with that. But Manalapan, can't rule them out. Anthony Macchio, another return on special teams.
Unbelievable. 88-yard kick. And that was just after South had taken their first lead. And you think, oh, gosh, we're in trouble. What happens? Picks up the kickoff and goes 88 yards. I mean, again, their special teams continues to be unbelievable.
So that's the game that nobody should have lost. But Manalapan came out of that game with a loss against a good Middletown South team who's got a big game next week. We'll talk about.
Yeah, that American division, it doesn't stop. You can't sit there and pat yourself on the back when you had a big win because you just have one more top 10 team after another coming right at you. It's like, the second you start thinking, oh, we're 2-0, things are going great. I mean, you could be 2-5 or something in 2 seconds in that division because it's just so relentless.
And Red Bank Catholic won 25-3. The number 1 ranked team played number 9 Wall. We didn't know what to make out of Wall, and I think Wall proved that they're going to be better than people think they're going to be this year. And they were pretty tough against Red Bank Catholic for the whole game. Red Bank Catholic's good, but it was a game. It was actually a game.
Yeah, I mean, and it was pretty close at halftime. I mean, RBC's defense has been pretty dominant so far. I mean, the only points they allowed were after they had the backups in against St. John Vianney in the season opener. So, as far as touchdown is concerned, I mean, they allowed 3 points in this game. So they've been incredible. Frankie Williams continued to do his thing, very efficient, 11 of 17, 2 touchdown passes. Their star receivers, Najee Rahman and Emmanuel Ross, who visited Clemson this weekend.
Yeah.
So you'll see the kind of level of offers he's getting. I mean, if you're getting offered from Clemson, that means every program in the country is
without a doubt.
after you.
Yeah, they don't even need to use them yet. So, I mean, I don't know right now if they're double covering them or they're just passing the ball around to other people, but they have weapons that are ready to go at any time. You got Portella, Harmon, Ross, Rahman. I mean, and then they got the tight ends, 2 tight ends that are really good too. They got a great arsenal of players. They really do.
Right.
And don't forget Stolfer.
And they've definitely looked like a complete team so far. And yeah, they have another big one coming up. Because that American division, like we said, it's just one Bulldog team after another. Speaking of the Bulldogs, Donovan Catholic beat Rumson and blanked them. Rumson's starting out in an 0-2 hole, which is pretty rare for them. Although, again, 2 of the best, they've lost to 2 of the top 2 or 3 teams in the short conference in Toms River North and Donovan Catholic. But you talk about another defense that has just been utterly dominant. Donovan Catholic held Rumson to negative total yardage in the first half, which is incredible.
Yes.
So Donovan, to me, I mean, you can't make any real bold predictions in this American division because anybody can get picked off, but it feels like maybe Donovan RBC on this massive collision course, but Middletown South clearly is going to have a lot to say about that, and Manalapan and a few others. So, but right now, Donovan is trying to state their case, I think, as being the number 1 team in the short.
How about a freshman, Najee Calhoun, ran for 28 carries for 169 yards. A freshman. He is a good-looking kid. You know who he reminds me of? Manny Bowen. You remember Manny Bowen?
Oh, yeah.
He's the same size as him athletically. And I mean,
played at Penn State.
He is a good-looking running back, this kid, Calhoun. 28 times he gave him a football, a freshman. What is he, 14?
Yeah.
14-year-old kid.
That shows your confidence. And their quarterback, Todd Landerson, he's a junior. And the touchdown pass he threw was to a freshman, Emmanuel Jurena.
Oh, yeah, Emmanuel Jurena. Yep, a freshman too. So they're young too, but they're talented. And you're right. They're playing for the right to be, number 1, like you said last week. You did. How about Jackson Memorial coming out with a very big win? Number 11 Jackson versus 16 Howell. They were up 20-0, and finally, they stopped them. in the fourth quarter. The story of that game is they made a quarterback move. Jack Gartenstein was the quarterback, big, strong, 6'4", dual threat type guy. They put him at receiver, which I think he's a dynamic receiver right there. And they put Nelms, Egan Nelms, in the game. He was 8 for 9 for 179 yards in the fourth quarter. And they scored 19 points. 19 points, but, fell short. But Jackson's tough.
But you wonder, is that the kind of change that sparks a whole season? Like, I remember a few years ago now, Freehold Burrow, when they put Ashante Worthy, just lined him up at quarterback when he had been playing some running back, and he just exploded. He took over to that position, and he became this unstoppable, record-setting player in the short conference. But you wonder, is that the kind of position move? Yes, this was a tough loss, but does that change things going forward? And the other thing is Jackson Memorial's own quarterback continues to play really well.
Very impressive. Very. He's impressing me because he's not just a one trick pony. He's throwing the football too. He's a dual threat. He's a legit dual threat.
255 yards in total offense, and that's a huge win in that Constitution division as a separation game. Now puts Jackson a little ahead of the pack as far as trying to lock down that division title. I think the thing with Ty Mann too is he's a multi-year starter, and he's just continued to improve. I think sometimes we want such instant gratification with players where if they're not a star, the minute you put them on the field, everybody wants somebody else in there. Rather than Ty Mann showing, he's played plenty of time now. He's taken his lumps last year in some spots, and now that experience and the work he's put in is really showing that he's gone to a guy who can control the game and be a huge playmaker who puts you over the top in a race for a championship.
Right. Who I was also impressed with this week was Luke Sheehan. Luke Sheehan from Middletown North. Now, he's the guy that when I had him on my player rankings, people were like, who is this guy? Well, he's starting for Steve Bush, who's probably one of the top play callers out there, innovative type of guy. And he was sitting behind Giacone, who was an all-short type of quarterback. He threw for 286, 3 touchdowns, 262, 3 touchdowns, and a touchdown pass at the end of the game. 121-14 on the road for Central. And I think this is the next big story. He's a junior, and there's a lot to be excited about there, right there, around Lopez and Dempsey, the big D lineman, and the tight end, Dempsey. So Middletown North kind of comes out with a big win on the road.
Yeah, and Dylan Briggs, 3 catches for 121 and a TD. They're the big tight end, like you said. Peter Dempsey, a pair of touchdowns. That was a good bounce-back win for them. I know their offense struggled against, a tough defense in their season opener. That was an important win for them to just get one under their belt and start to build some momentum against a Central team that's just really been ravaged by injuries and is trying to do the best they can out there.
Yeah, and Ocean Township for real with Tyler Douglas, Mateo Andrews, Shane Garrett.
You want to talk about instant impact. Mateo Andrews transferring from Neptune has become an immediate playmaker. I mean, what did he? He had, I believe, a 71-yard touchdown catch and returned a kickoff, 99 yards against his old team, no less.
Yeah, so he's dynamic.
Clearly, was motivated for that game.
Yeah, Tyler Douglas is just having a great start of the season.
Yeah,
he's living up to the bill.
Again, I don't want to get totally into people's recruiting in the sense of, I know he's committed to Temple, but I just remember when he gets compared to Kenny Pickett, obviously because he's a former Ocean Star quarterback, but he also had a Temple offer and played his way into a Power 5 offer with Pittsburgh by the end of the year. And I know the Temple guys don't want to hear that right now. They're saying we want him to come to us. But you never know if he continues to have a big season, what other offers could potentially roll in here at his senior year.
Yeah. So their big game that they got this week, they're going to be playing Connor Dietz. Remember that name? Yeah, Connor Dietz from Brick Memorial.
Yeah, after he struggled in that season opener against Jackson Memorial with missing a few passes here or there, but he exploded against Redmond. And he's the guy. I mean, he does everything but sell the popcorn at the snack stand for Brick Memorial. I mean, he's kicking extra points. He's an impact player as a safety. He's obviously a dual threat quarterback in the backfield like these. He does it all for them. And he rebounded in a major way with a huge game against Red Bank.
429 yards. That's going to be a great matchup next week with Tyler Douglas and Connor Dietz. And oh, by the way, the other 20 other guys on the field too. But yeah.
But you know who the fans are, initially coming to see, that's for sure.
I know. We got to talk about Tom River North, the number 2 ranked team in the Shore, 42-0 against a good Southern traditional defensive team. They're young. But Tom River North is not young. They're all a lot of juniors, but they just are rolling right now. They are rolling.
That was just, the machine keeps on churning out lopsided wins. It's all the stars. They come to play every time, and the mistakes that they had in the last game, they've cleaned up a little bit. That's what we said. Once they start playing penalty-free, clean football,
yes,
you got to put them up there with among the best teams in all of New Jersey.
Right. There's a team out there that's not used to being 2-0. Do you know what it is in Monmouth County? Marlboro.
You know what though? Yeah. You say that not used to being 2-0. They were 3-0 last year.
Oh, stop it!
But you're right. In the history of their program,
yes,
there really have not been many 2-0 starts at all.
They're proving it this year.
Yeah, and you can tell this is a team that they came up just short of a rare playoff berth for them last year, and they clearly are on a mission to just change the whole perception of Marlboro football. They're a legitimate division title threat, and they want to piece Jackson again after last year, because Jackson was the team that knocked them out of the state playoffs. So they start 2-0, and they're going to be a heavy favorite this week against Freehold Borough. That's young and kind of rebuilding. So you got to like Marlboro to get off to another 3-0 start, but this time try to carry that momentum. Whereas last year, they kind of hit a rough patch a little bit. But 35-7 over Farrell Township, and again, their run game has been excellent. Matt Cassidy, their junior running back, 118 yards and a touchdown. Their senior quarterback, AJ Schwartz, another great dual threat guy. Anthony Tropiano, their linebacker, huge game on defense. They got guys, and it seems like, they're so motivated by the way last year they came so close that they're playing like they really want it.
They have a chip on their shoulder. Right. What wins championships? Defense and run game. They have that. They do.
Yeah.
Long Branch, number 10, beat Lacey 34-21. I don't know what to take of Lacey. They're very young, inexperienced, but they went up there and they kind of were battling out. But ACCUCARE.
200 yards, 92-yard kickoff return. The tailback spot at Long Branch is a star-making spot. If you get that starting tailback job at that school, you're probably really, really talented, because you could just go down the list of the last 15, 20, 30 years of one-star tailback after another at Long Branch, and he's living up to that billing. A lot of responsibility comes with that, and shout out to Chad King. He got his first win as a head coach after replacing Dan George, so now he's on the board and they can move forward from that. Zaheem Brown also 131 rushing.
Not
Long
bad.
Branch can run the ball. They just devastate you because they always have more than one guy. Yes, they have a star tailback, but usually the second guy behind that guy would be the starter on a lot of other teams.
Who else bounced back with a big run game? Chris Scully, Colts Neck, 204 yards. Rolling. Career high 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. They bounced back from a tough game they had last week, but 50-13 at Colts Neck was a huge win for them and their program to get back.
How about St. John Vianney getting off to a 2-1 start? They had the tough game against RBC, and people didn't really know. And you think, they lost these transfers, but no, they're playing great.
Yeah, kudos.
Wow, Barry's having a great season.
They did a great job, Coach Papkin, bouncing back from you don't know what to expect. Is RBC that good, or do we play that bad? I think we know it was more of RBC being pretty good with that too. How about Brick Township, Toms River South? Great traditional game. Brick came out. They were winning 21-0. Big game for both sides. Martin came off of a first game win, but Lenny Zdanowicz with AJ Gregel, 100 yards, kind of led the way. They did real well, Brick. coming back. And one thing about Lenny is when you think they're down, they get back. They always hoover around that 500 mark and bounce up, but they'll never ever have a season where they're 1-9 or 2-8 or something like that. So, if you're a betting man, I wouldn't bet against them.
Yeah, Brick is just one of those programs. They have that proud tradition where it's very rare that the bottom would fall out. They're always going to be competitive year after year after year. So yeah, it's interesting how all those traditional rivals, Tom's River East, Tom's River South, Brick Memorial, they're all pretty close together as far as like talent wise. Like their seasons could go one way or another. They're all pretty similar. I mean, Tom's River North is a cut above all of those guys, but that it'll be interesting to see who emerges from that cluster of teams of having the best season among all of them.
You're going to hear our guest speaker later on today. He had another big win at Manchester, 2-0. I would call this an upset. I would, because Manchester's beating a Tom's River East team on the road, 21-13.
I picked the Hawks to win, so yeah. I'll gladly bank that one because, I think they're off to a really nice start. And, Tommy Farrell just has added so much energy to that program. Yeah. And it certainly helps to have Josh Love.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. So we're going to find out firsthand what is the secret on why they're doing so well. At Barnegat, big local rivalry. Barnegat came out 7-6, packed stands. John Germano, the AD, does a great job every year building up the atmosphere there. And, won a heated rivalry, 7-6. Pinelands did a great job stopping JoJo Bivens. Barnegat hasn't been moving the ball too well, but, it's going to take one game and they'll be right back at it because they got one of the best running backs in Ocean County. And then Matawan and Jackson Liberty, Matawan came out, proved that Amir Martinez, Wellman Chromes are one of the young guys out there that are going to, that can touch the ball and score at any time.
Yeah, Amir Martinez Descott is one of those guys that's popped up in the passing leaders early on here in the Shore Conference, only a sophomore for the Huskies who are trying to get back to that traditional level that they've enjoyed as one of the Shore's better teams. So it looks like they're at least starting to come together with a good young core there. I know junior Cameron Cooper had a big touchdown catch in that game. And it's funny. You want to give credit to both teams in this other game. Keyport 30, Asbury Park 22. First of all, great win for Keyport. Yeah. They're on the board. Their first victory of the year. But Asbury Park didn't even know if they're going to have a season.
No.
They have 18 players, which is, barely like 6 guys standing on the bench.
Yeah.
7 guys. Like, if they, and that's if, like, in other words, how many are like freshmen or something that you might not even want to put into a varsity game? And they still go out there and take the lead and almost beat Keyport, which is a tribute to the talent of the guys they have there and how their new head coach, Lamar Davenport, had just kept them together through all the ineligibility issues and the scare over whether are we even going to have a season.
Yeah, it's a big win for Keyport. Raleigh Stevens is a good character kid that was on my show and has been nothing but a good kid. From what I see in the program, he's going to hold the glue. He's the glue to that program. He's only a junior and a good athlete, but on and off the field, he's doing the right stuff. So he's going to.
Roman Blanks, the sophomore quarterback for Keyport, stepped in and had himself a great game. Ran for 2 TDs in the fourth quarter to help them come from behind and win. And you just wonder with Asbury, when you have no depth, like when no one can come out of the game really almost on any snap, how are they going to fare in the fourth quarter of a lot of these games? I know in Group 1 football, it's not like everybody has tons of kids, but you usually have some guys you can sub in there. What is it like if you have to play almost the whole game without missing a single snap on either side of the ball?
Coach Glesman, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall watching his game plan. Like, he must have had 6 different game plans. If this kid's not playing, we're doing this. If that kid's playing, if they're all playing, if they're all not playing. I mean, but they came out with a win at Asbury Park, and the fans were juiced up. And whatever it is, 30-22, Asbury Park's going to win.
Big game for Nazir Treadwell, who we expected to have a big season. He had, 131 yards. So, yeah, that was just and then, among the other small schools, Point Beach
won.
They got their first win. They're on the board. 10-point win over Keensburg. Roman Grasso was kind of the do-it-all guy, which, again, Group 1 football, you're going to see guys making plays on both sides of the ball the whole game. 14 tackles on defense, ran for 70 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he did a nice job. And then, one other game.
Well, I like Joe Bailey. Joe Bailey is like their cool dude that does it all. He's the quarterback and a linebacker. So that was a big win for him. And then the last game, I believe it's the last game, is Shore Lakewood.
Yeah, that was
Saturday
Shore
night.
bouncing back. I mean, Shore had that tough game against Westwood. They come back and get a lopsided 35-6 win over Lakewood, who drops to 0-2. So yeah, that was just an important game for Shore to get their footing and just kind of flush that first game, shake it off. So they're back to their winning ways, and I'm sure they'll be a factor. And then we also don't forget there was another important divisional game in the Independence Division, and that was Raritan beating Monmouth Regional 21-13. Monmouth did not have their starting quarterback for that game, who was out with an injury, so that hurt them. But
Dan KLINE got a touch. They got I think 2 touchdowns called back, or I know one. KLINE got a touchdown called back, I think, on the first play.
And Kieran Falzone, the senior running back for Raritan, had another huge game. I think he's a guy you're going to see among the rushing leaders all season.
Yeah.
But more impressively, I mean, yes, I know Monmouth did not have the full complement of their offense, but Raritan held them to 13 points 1 week after they put 38 up. So tribute to the Raritan defense, which is, coming around, and I think that's a good confidence booster for them because they're looking to be that dark horse team to challenge, to maybe step up and really challenge Point Borough. Granted, you're going to have to be Manasquan, you're going to be some other good teams before you can make that leap in that division to being the number 1 contender. But Raritan could be that dark horse team that tries to rise up and shock Point Borough, which is the clear favorite now in that division race after having beaten Manasquan.
I love it. Week 2, you're starting to see the identity of certain teams. Week 3 is really going to reveal what the team's all about.
Yeah, and you start to see the changing priorities where a tough loss means, you know what? Maybe it's time to just prepare for the state playoffs. We're probably not going to get that division.
Right.
So let's focus on building up for the postseason. And then the other teams that are like, whoa, we're now in the driver's seat, or we're going to set up this huge matchup. This is also when you start to see trap games developing because a team thinks, it's going to be us and this other team for a division championship, but they're not playing that game for 3 weeks. And in between that, you could get caught.
All right, Scott, here's the KLINE brothers Coaches Top 20 for the week of 3. It's always interesting when we reveal it. 24 coaches voted, and here we go. It's just revealed today. It's interesting how everybody votes, and I like it. I just like when 20 teams get recognized. Some teams moved up, a couple of teams moved down, and 2 entered. I
think you see some status quo at the top. It's pretty much all the same teams. We got a monster one coming up this week. Number 1 RBC at number 3 Middletown South. And the last time these 2 teams played was the 2020 season, the shortened pandemic year, and Middletown South beat them. So the RBC seniors and all them will be looking for a little payback there. But that's a huge game. Point Borough definitely solidified their spot. We were at that game, impressive win over Manasquan. You see Long Branch take a little bit of a jump. Jackson, who to me looks like the slight front runner in their division. So that makes sense to me as far as like the division races. Rumson, it goes to show the strength of their program that, they're 0-2 and neither game has particularly been close, but the coaches still see them as a top 10 team because, that's just the standard they've set there. So I think that's interesting. And then you look, a couple new teams in there this week too.
I like Brick Memorial bumping in there, and then Matawan jumping inside there. Long Branch Jackson, like you said, moved up 3 slots. So did Marlboro. Marlboro is a team that's got a lot of momentum. And like you said earlier, Jackson Marlboro are head-on collision. And that would be
Marlboro's going to have to deal with Howell first, I think. That's especially those changes you just said Howell made on offense. Who knows if that makes them a totally different team than in a week or 2 than they were. So that'll be a really interesting game. But like anything, if you're Marlboro, you're excited to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
And Wall, you can't really penalize much. They lost to the number 1 team. St. John Vianney kind of, steadily making a little bit of a rise after being out after week 1 and getting back in the poll. We also got, Raritan nudging into the top 10. So I think that that division with Manasquan and Point Borough in it, and Raritan, and still Monmouth Regional as a threat. There's a lot of good teams in there that could be fighting it out, with Point Borough the clear favorite, but some big games coming up to watch there.
Yeah, after week 3, they have different scenarios that happen. Then you'll be able to justify a little bit more the rankings. But
it's really, it's crazy with that American division. Again, the number 1 team, the number 3 team, the number 4 team, the number 6 team, the number 9 team.
Yeah.
Like the whole division, and then Wall, I think, is it like the whole division is ranked. Yeah. So it just goes to show like that it really is like the SEC of the Shore Conference.
We have 2 special guests here, and I'm real proud to have you guys. We're going to talk a little Manchester Hawks football with, I would like to say, the surprise football team of not only the county, but the Shore Conference. And I'm saying that with a lot of respect. You guys are 2-0, a first-year head football coach. And Josh, you are making some noise out there with your play on and off the field. I'm real proud of you. So let me introduce you. Coach Tommy Farrell, right in the middle.
Thank you.
And over to the left is Josh Love. Guys, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us, Coach.
Anytime.
Let's get right into it because there's a lot to talk about in a 10, 15-minute segment. You guys had 2 impressive games on the road. I was there at Lakewood. I wanted to see Coach Farrell. I've known Coach Farrell for a long time and have a lot of respect for him and his family. And being there on the first game on the sidelines was something special. I saw a lot of excitement on the field, a lot of love, a lot of passion, a lot of true stuff going on in the field. And I loved, Coach, the first play call. You went for it all. That says a lot. And we'll talk about that in a second. 43-26, and Josh, you stole the game with your play. You just wouldn't let go, and you weren't coming off that field with a loss. And then the second game, you played Tom Driver East on the road. Tom Driver is like the mecca of Ocean County, and you went in there and stole one from him. 21-13, another impressive game. 2 games on the road. It's been a great ride for you two the last 2 weeks, huh?
Yeah, thank you, Coach. It's a pleasure having my coach here with me. He's the best coach I had in my high school career, so I just follow his path, and we win.
Very nice. Coach, before we talk about those games, I'm all about first impressions. And I want to hear the first time you met the football team. And then I want to hear, Josh, what was your impression of Coach the first time you met the head football coach? So, Coach, how was your first time you met the team? What was your impression of the team?
Yeah, first time I met the team was in the auditorium. I think it was the day after I got board approved at the end of April, early May. I was all fired up, happy to meet them, being in that big auditorium in Manchester. We had over 100 kids there. And being at, small schools, in my past coaching career, I was in my glory to have over 100 kids show up. We're down to 75, 80 now, but just, great men, not only great football players, as you can see with their performance the last couple of weeks, but just they're great kids, man. They make me, I wake up before my alarm. I'm happy to go to work and see them in the hallways. And then, when they know when 2:30 comes and we're out on the field, it's time to get to work. The fun's over. It's not fun playing football, but they know it's time to work. And that's what they've been doing day in and day out, and they've been buying in. And the first impression was awesome. But you know what? Now we're going on to week 3, and I wouldn't want to be, leading a bunch of men than any others than these guys. So I'm just happy to be with them and just honored to be their coach. Happy to be a small part of their high school career.
What were the nerves like you had on the first time you got it? Listen, there's nothing wrong with saying that because I know you're a perfectionist and you want to make that first impression. How nervous were you? It was like Christmas, wasn't it?
Coach, to be honest, I wasn't nervous, I think, until running out against Lakewood. I didn't really feel it in the scrimmages too much. I didn't really feel it in practice. I knew this was what I was meant to do. I knew this is where I was meant to be, but running out against Lakewood, I think it kind of hit me in that moment. But then once the whistle blows, you're kind of on autopilot a little bit. So I felt it for a little bit, but I have a great assistant. I have a great assistant staff, great support staff behind me. And I wouldn't be, we wouldn't be 2-0 without my assistants and without kids like Josh on the team.
I want to talk to the star to the left. That's you, Josh, in case you don't realize that. Josh, tell me, what was your first impression? All right. Now, it's a tough transition for high school athletes to wake up and not have a head coach in place. And now the coach was just named. You knew nothing about him. He walked into the auditorium. Tell me what you guys were thinking.
When we first seen him, it was like you said in the auditorium. I don't know. We just looked like he was young. He was our age, so like it was like a better vibe because we could actually talk to him instead of like a coach older than us. So then we just kept meeting him a few times, and talking to him, and like the relationship came on as you guys. That's the washer. The relationship came on as we kept like coming together and meeting each other.
Yeah, that's nice. It's good chemistry you guys got, which is very obvious in the first two games that you had. But there's more to football than just Friday nights. It really is. And Coach, you're all about family. I know your family. And I think the most nervous person on that football field at the Lakewood game was your father, because I was next to him.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me that, I wouldn't have guessed it. I've never seen him like that before. I think it's because he has no control over the game, and I like that a little bit. I like that he has no control, and I think that's what drives him a little bit crazy. But when he was a head coach, and now that he's a superintendent, you'll never see his nerves. He's very calm, cool, and collected at his job and when he was a head coach, but I think that he has no control over the outcome of the game, and he's just a bystander. I think that irks him just a little bit.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you guys opening up to me about your day one experience. A lot has happened since the first time you guys met to where you are right now. Where you are, you're 2-0. You're 2-0. You are what your record is, regardless of what it is. This is the best start since 2017 at Manchester. I know a lot about Manchester. You got a lot of great things that happen. Every week now that you keep winning, you're building up higher expectations from outside. All right. So now you are playing a huge game. You guys set it up against Mattawan. Mattawan comes in as I would like to say this, Coach, as the favorite of the Liberty. A traditional football program with some outstanding athletes. Very impressive win last week against Jackson Liberty, and played a tough Raritan team right to the end. You come in 2-0, undefeated like them in the division. Now tell me what the atmosphere is like in the Manchester community. I know the answer, but I want everybody else to hear it. In the school, outside the community, and what do you think it's going to be like Friday night?
Coach, I'm going to let Josh answer this question because with 2 away scrimmages and 2 away games, I don't know what it's like. I was assistant at Shore last year. I know the Hawks Nest is always something to be proud of, but Josh knows more than me what it's like for a home football game on Friday night. So Josh,
let's hear it, Josh.
The game is really going to be loud, a lot of people there, a lot of excitement, but us players, we focus more on the game, so we just take it day by day, practice, and we're not really worried about the fans. We're worried about winning the game.
That's a great answer. It really is. Now tell me the truth. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding, Josh. Listen, that's right. You're going to focus on the game, but the atmosphere for us reporters who are going to be at the games and all that, it's going to be electrifying because Manchester's not used to being 2-0 and playing a big game early in the season. But you guys deserve it. You guys deserve the spotlight. You really do. Now let's talk to you, Coach. How do you keep your team focused from now? Okay, we're 2-0. Now we got to focus and get to 3-0 doing XYZ because it's tough because they're not used to doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Coach. I believe I'm a big 24-hour rule guy. So we watched the film against East on Saturday morning. Once we were done with the film on Saturday morning, we were on to Mattawan. I was already making the scouting report before they came in Saturday morning on Mattawan.
Good.
Good. Mattawan's a great team. Like I said, we're focused on Mattawan. Coach Graver is doing great things over there. They played Raritan very tight week 1. And they beat Jackson Liberty week 2. They got a very special kid at quarterback. They got really good skill guys, and they got a nice stud left tackle there as well. We're focused on Mattawan. It's a great division matchup. But the message has always been, even after we beat Lakewood 1-0, you are who you are next week. The past is the past. You can't control what happened. These kids deserve to be 2-0. They deserve to get this recognition that they necessarily haven't gotten in recent years. But the goal is still in front of us. A division championship, a winning record, and a playoff berth. But we're taking that 1 week at a time, and we're not letting. I call them winning hangovers, right? You saw with the Los Angeles Rams week 1, they celebrated their Super Bowl, and then they lose to the Buffalo Bills. So I don't want to have a winning hangover with Lakewood and Toms River East, especially for our home opener on Friday night. So we're laser focused on Mattawan right now, just taking it week by week.
I'm a Jet fan. I wouldn't know what a winning hangover is. We never win. We never win, Josh. But Josh, what coach is talking about, I know he's doing that with you guys. But listen, you deserve nights like this. It's a special night. You want to be relevant out there in the short conference. You definitely are. You made some noise, winning your both games on the road, and now you finally get to wear the blue jerseys, right?
Yeah.
Tell me how special is it to wear blue jersey at a home game at Manchester?
You just reminded me. We wear white. I like the white. I like the white more than the blue.
Well,
So,
I would say so. You're 2-0 with them on.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
So, but it does feel good to wear the blue and the newer. So I don't know. It's mainly like the white. The white makes it like
You got to start a winning streak with the blue jerseys too.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, that's Friday night. You still got a lot more football afterwards. Okay, what are the goals for Manchester for this season? Let me hear it, Josh. What are you in your locker room? In the locker room, coach shuts the door. He leaves. You're in there. What are you guys talking about?
Our goals are to just come together as a team and just win to you week by week, team by team.
Good.
And just knock teams down, make it as far as we can, work as hard as we can.
Good. And I know Coach likes to talk about family, uniting, which you do a great job, Coach, on social media. I love it. I watch every one of them. And you do back up everything that you say you're going to do. That's the one thing I respect about Coach Farrell. What he says he's going to do, he does. He does. Coach, you're living a dream, aren't you?
Living the dream, Coach. But we're not satisfied with being 2-0. We wouldn't be able to be 2-0 if it wasn't for players like Josh, if it wasn't for my assistants. So I want to shout out my assistant coaches. They make being a first-year head coach a little easier with the staff I have behind me, and I know Josh can attest to the staff we have. The leadership throughout our program, not just the seniors. I mean, we have a starting freshman defensive end.
Yeah.
We have a starting sophomore quarterback. We have Josh, who's a junior, and then we have kids like TZ and Eli, who are seniors. The leadership top to bottom makes my job easier. Having 2 former head coaches on my staff make my job easier. So it's a complete team effort, and I couldn't be more proud of these guys. Like I said, they deserve the recognition. I just don't want them to focus on the hype. I want them to focus on that.
I remember Tyrone Benjamin went to my showcase in the summertime, and we talked about what a red flag was, what did he need to improve on. I said, you need to improve on staying confident no matter if a play goes good or bad. He goes, yes, because he makes great plays, and then he would be kind of subtle and all that stuff. And what do? First play action you. I'm looking who's got the ball. Aiden Lund throws a deep ball to who? Tyrone Benjamin for a touchdown. You couldn't have a better start, Coach, in your career at Manchester.
Yeah.
Couldn't.
I mean, we're a running identity. We're a running offense. So we just, that's what we thought we could steal one there on play 1, and we did. We got lucky.
Well, that's showing confidence in your team, and that says a lot. You weren't playing, real tight to the vest. You went out and said, we're going to show what we got, and it was just a great pitch and catch, a good fake, and then later on you gave the ball to this young man, and he did his job right there. But that was, Coach, from a coach to a coach. I thought that showed that we're going to let people know who we are right away, and that's a boost of confidence in your guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we're not satisfied. There's more to come from Manchester football. So stay tuned. But we're taking it week by week.
Awesome. I want to thank you guys for spending time tonight, coming on the Shore Football Report. The first coaches and players we had on our show this year, and well deserved by you two. And we're going to be speaking about you guys, I know, a lot in the next couple of weeks, because you got a good thing going there. You really do.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Good luck to you guys on Friday. Good luck to you guys on Friday. Make sure you promote this show once it goes out tomorrow morning. All right. And you got a lot of people rooting for you in Manchester and also in other towns too. You're a great success story. Keep it going.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thanks, guys.
All right, when we're talking the big games of week 3, you have to start. Number 1, Red Bank Catholic heading to the Swamp against number 3, Middletown South. Another monster. I feel like this is like American Division Digest, but another monster game in that division. And you're talking like all shore caliber players all over the field, both sides for both teams. Let's start with, how do you see Middletown South's defense, which has been excellent so far, led by Colin Gallagher, trying to slow down the RBC offense?
I'm very excited to see the matchup there. Middletown South flies to the football. There's always a different guy that kind of has a good game every week. They're a traditional power. I think that they'll be able to give them I think they'll be able to give them a tough game. I really do. Defensively, and if they can run the football, I could see that being a 13-7 game going into the third quarter. I really could.
Right. I just feel like Frankie Williams so far has been relatively protected back there throwing the ball. South's whole thing is bringing pressure from all angles at quarterbacks, making them make a throw with someone coming right down their throat. So I think like that to me is a big question to, will they be able to get pressure on him and slow down those wideouts? Rahman, Ross, 2 of the best wideout receivers in the Shore Conference. And we haven't seen, RBC has had solid games on the ground, but hasn't really like pounded a team just yet with Sabino Portella and Torrin Harmon and those guys. So we'll see if they're able to establish that early. But, South kind of prides themselves on stopping the run game, making you one-dimensional, and then coming after you, throwing the ball. But, this is one of those games where when it comes time for all short time and you're picking the teams and you're going, especially with the linemen on both sides of the ball, some great linemen going head-to-head on either side of the ball here. And whoever wins that battle up front, that's one of those things where you look back and how you just, if you're splitting hairs and deciding, is this guy first team all shore or second, it might be the matchups head-to-head in a game like this.
I don't think Red Bank Catholic is going to divide their reps evenly this game with all their players. I think you might see a little more dose of Emmanuel Ross, Najee Rahman, maybe Portella Harmon getting the ball a little bit more. Nobody's really kind of absorbed the brunt of the offense yet.
Now let's go to the other side. How do you see RBC's defense slowing down an offense that has been like second half magic so far the last?
Yeah, well, I think they'll be okay with that. Middletown South ain't going to blow you out. They're going to keep you. They're going to stay in the game with moving the chains and playing good defense and getting that first down. But the second half, they've been wearing people out. Now, I don't know if they could do that to Red Bank Catholic, but I do believe that it's going to be a bunch of stalemate plays on both sides of the football. Good defense. I love it.
Well, I guess if RBC's winning at halftime, South will be like, we got them right where we want them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they were down by 2 touchdowns. And
they've been losing at halftime, I think, both games so far. And offensive coordinator Joe Trezza has just been able to work out the wrinkles, and they get out there and make the plays when they have to in the second half. I would not advise getting down big to RBC at halftime, though. It's not a good idea as far as any kind of comeback is concerned.
No. Yeah. How about the second game?
Yeah, another American Division throwdown. At this point, Donovan Catholic's defense has just been so dominant. It'll be a question of, can Manalapan even put enough points on the board to get this win, even if they do a great job against because Manalapan's defense has also been excellent. So if they can do a good job against slowing down a Donovan team full of playmakers, is that going to be enough? Because are they going to be able to muster? Although I guess they always have special teams, right? They could always score on a punt or a kickoff return. But yeah, to me, this is I think a statement type game for Donovan Catholic to separate themselves in this American Division even further as one of the top contenders. For Manalapan, I think the hardest thing too is you just had a grueling emotional loss, and you can't dwell on it against Middletown South. Like, Donovan Catholic is too good. You can't sleepwalk through a half, or the game will be over.
I was going to say that they lost a heartbreaking game, and sometimes it's hard to get up for that second game. And Donovan's coming in looking really good last week, and boy, they're fast. Their defense is fast, big and fast. So Manalapan playing on the road too, so they got a big hole right now going. But I like the quarterback play of both Nick Heckel, a first-year player, and Todd Lamberson, a first-year player. They're both doing a really nice job.
And I think they're both going to probably have to make plays throwing the ball because these defenses are so good that it's going to be really hard to just line up with Najee Calhoun for Donovan Catholic and then, Manalapan's run game to just run it down their throat. So I think both of those guys are going to have to make some throws under pressure in that game. We're going to find out, I think, a lot more about both of those quarterbacks in a game like this.
Yeah, new stars are coming out every week for both those teams. But again, Manalapan with their special teams is a threat. Donovan Catholic has that star caliber receiver, Michael Thomas III, along with that big line that they have and an outstanding defense. It's two good teams. Two good teams that are going to be going deep in the playoffs at the end of the year playing week 3.
And this is a game where I could see Michael Thomas being a big factor. If all things are somewhat even and he comes down with another crazy catch in traffic or, makes just some unbelievable dazzling play, that could be the difference in a game like this.
They just run the shovel to him, the flip it, the jet sweep and do it. So he can get open.
They have a lot of weapons. They're just a really deep, varied team there. I would certainly, our rankings say it, but, you would consider them the favorite coming into this game. And the question is whether, to me, Manalapan can muster enough offense to pull this one out.
I'm gonna, Coach Dom Lepore has got a tough one. Get the team back up to play. There is no pauses in their schedule.
Right.
And they just lost.
I've always thought that's such a tough thing for your depth. If somebody gets hurt or you lose a key guy, you don't have that week or two of easy games where maybe you can cruise through and then get that guy back in the lineup. It's like it's going to be glaring because you're going to need these people and then it's just so rough and tumble and so physical in that division. By the time you get to the state playoffs, are you all beat up or do you have enough for a postseason run or not?
Yeah.
That's always the question.
You got to get them up, get them in a away game. They just lost a very emotional game that they could have won. And and Donovan Catholic is really I don't think Donovan Catholic and Red Bank Catholic are looking at each other saying we're playing the next week because you got Manalapan and Middletown South saying, wait a minute, we're no trap game. Don't call us a trap game. But to the public out there, is it a distraction or not? Who knows? You're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. You never know.
Well, you talk about a team coming off a tough game that has to bounce back immediately. Manasquan, after that, really losing 39-13 to Point Borough in a hyped-up, huge game. They have to come back. They're at home. Obviously, they always play great at Big Caboo Warrior Field.
Mm-hmm.
They got to face Raritan, who's off to a 2-0 start, coming off a real solid win against Monmouth Regional. And to me, that's, again, if Raritan is going to set up a potential championship game with Point Borough for that division title, they have to have this game. So this is huge for the Rockets because you got to get over the hump on the road in a really tough place to play against a very motivated team looking to shake off last week. How do you see this game? Obviously, the Manasquan has an experienced quarterback in Brett Patton coming off a tough outing. Raritan has a brand new quarterback, Logan Goldsberry, who's played well so far, but hasn't played in a game maybe of this magnitude in this kind of atmosphere just yet. Although, Raritan has a great home atmosphere, but I'm talking about on the road like this. And Raritan traditionally plays Friday nights, so it's going to be an adjustment. Was that a thing as a coach if you normally played Friday and you had to play a Saturday game?
Yeah, it is because you're talking about kids. They're in routines. Now, all of a sudden, the routine is now it's Saturday. You get an extended day to practice. You got to wake up early on a weekend to play a football game. Yeah, I'm not going to fool you. It is a big difference. Playing Manasquan at their place is going to be a difficult game. But Raritan's been very quiet in terms of the rankings. They're quietly moving up the ranks. They're number 10 now.
I think that's the thing. they're coming off a season where they made a sectional final. They returned one of the short conference top running backs in Kieran Falzone. So they have guys. Dan KLINE, another great all-around player. But I think the thing with them was they haven't had that big game yet. They started with a Matawan team that's young, improving, but Raritan was the favorite in that game. They get the win over Monmouth Regional, who showed something certainly in week one against Red Bank Regional. But this, to me, is the first real gauge of, like, how good is Raritan? Because Manasquan, like anything else, is a measuring stick. Are you on their level or are you not? So, Manasquan got a tough game out of their system. So I just think that we'll find out a lot on Saturday. I guess, how do you see Manasquan bouncing back after that?
Last year it was a shootout, 30-something to 30-something. Nobody stopped anybody. Manasquan.
And Raritan was leading that game by a lot in the second half. Swan came roaring back. I think sent it to overtime. So that, Raritan won't forget that either. If they get up by a little, you can't take the foot off the gas pedal against Manasquan, especially in Manasquan.
Well, again, I mean, if you're just an average fan and you're going to be down on Manasquan after playing Point Borough and Patton was definitely not feeling right, I mean, you're going to lose a lot of money because Brett Patton is an all-short quarterback. He's a top pocket quarterback in the short conference. Jameer Howard, they moved all around. You saw it. He was playing receiver, running back. My
question is, after seeing what Point Borough just did to them with the run game, now you're facing a Raritan team that runs the triple option, has a tremendous tailback, and another really good slot back. Will they be able to stop that Raritan run game?
Well, you're right about that. But to mimic another team that's kind of at a level like this is tough. But yeah, Raritan's got a bunch of good players coming back too. Danny KLINE, Matagor, Kieran Falzone. There's a lot of star power on that field and 2 playoff power teams. I don't know. I think that's a toss-up. I think that game is a total toss-up.
I think that's going to be a great game. And traditionally, when those teams have played, particularly at that field, I remember years ago. I mean, for years, Raritan had never beaten them on that field.
Right.
And I remember years ago when they finally did, they took a scoop of the dirt from the field and put it in a bag of, like, we finally did it. We finally got them on this field. But that also goes to the respect level for Manasquan.
Right.
When you beat them at their place, it's a special thing for a lot of programs. But yeah, I mean, Jameer Howard, I think he'll come back even stronger after last week. Again, I think he and Patton, they just never really got in sync. So we'll see. But yeah, that to me is because if Manasquan wins that game, then it almost, I don't want to say the division race is over.
Yeah.
But it puts Point Borough definitely in the driver's seat by far.
Yeah, but don't count out Manasquan if the winner loses game.
And then an interesting game. 2 perennially tough top 10 programs that are both winless so far. Wall at Rumson, another American Division showdown. Wall just 0-1 because they just played their first game against RBC.
Yep.
Rumson now 0-2. I mean, Rumson probably hasn't been 0-3 since the 90s. So, that to me is a season's going 2 different directions kind of game.
Even though they're playing a tough schedule, again, we're going to say it again, they're kids. And kids are not used to, or they are used to winning or losing. And that could be something that they might not be able to shake, but we'll see.
Both of those teams combined for 3 points last week. So both of those offenses are going to look to try to get on track.
Yeah.
After both seeing 2 of the best defenses in the short last week.
Yeah, I mean, again, the AD's putting everybody into one division. This is what you're at. Wall Rumson are battling for their first win.
You could be the last place team in that division and probably be the division champ in some of the other divisions.
Tom River North last year was last in the division, and they went to the state finals.
Right.
So figure that. But I don't know what to take with Rumson because Rumson has a bunch of inexperienced guys, but you keep saying they're Rumson, and they're going to be able to, talking to the coaches that played against them said Rumson's going to win a lot of games this year. You watch. They just had tough games. North and Donovan Catholic.
Yeah. No, a lot. I mean, almost the entire short conference would be 0-2 playing those.
Yeah, I would say.
You know what I mean? Like, who wouldn't be 0-2 other than maybe 1 or 2 other teams, if that? So, yeah, it looks like, oh, my God, they're 0-2. But, yeah, because of who they played. That's why you see the coaches still showing them the respect of, like, they consider them a top 10 team, even though they haven't won a game yet. just because of the caliber of opposition.
I'm really excited to see Eddie Guerrero come out in his second game. He showed that they were going to play tough defense and they were going to be physical against a Red Bank Catholic team. Now they're going against Rumson. They got guys. Wall's better than you want him to be. So, they're going to run
Wall's
power.
had some history in the state playoffs with Rumson the past few seasons. It's kind of become a nice little rivalry kind of game there as far as them clashing in the postseason. Another game I'm looking forward to just for quarterback star power, Brick Memorial and Ocean.
Connor Dietz, Tyler Douglas, two best or one of the two best dual threat quarterbacks. They're exciting. One's a junior, one's a senior. Connor Dietz, 449 yards offense last week, and Tyler Douglas just had another huge game again right there. I can't wait. I will be at that game. I'm excited to see those guys. But in that game, I'm curious to see what other player rises. Is it going to be Mateo Andrews? Is it going to be Crispin from Brick Memorial?
Yeah, I really liked Crispin when I saw him against Jackson Memorial in their season opener. He gets a lot of separation down the field at wide receiver where he can get 2 or 3 steps on a guy, and if the ball's there, he's gone. So he's a real weapon in the deep passing game.
Scott, what's interesting, what people don't realize is that they're doing a lot of RPOs, both teams. They have pre-snap reads, they have post-snap reads, and they're facilitating the football. And as you can see, they're moving the football with different people, but the quarterback is orchestrating the whole thing. They might be reading a might linebacker, maybe a 3 technique, maybe an outside edge guy. Screens are open, sling it. So both coaches do a great job getting the football in the right person's hand in the right spots with those.
Well, and honestly, I think this is probably one of those, recruiting type games. If you're Connor Dietz, you're thinking, well, all eyes are on Douglas. He's committed to Temple. This film will be seen by a lot of people. Obviously, he cares more about the win for his team. But hey, if he shows out in a game that a lot of college coaches might be checking out, that can't hurt his cause.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big game for both teams. In a division, Shane Garrett is another guy that's getting looked at by all those colleges as a defensive lineman, also a tight end or an athlete right there. So Brick Memorial beat Ocean Township last year. Okay.
Right.
People quickly forgot about that, but now Ocean is ranked higher than them and had all the hype, and Brick Memorial won last year. So remember that.
Yeah, and one other game that caught my eye was Monmouth in the Independence Division. Monmouth Regional at St. John Vianney. Vianney's now won 2 in a row. Monmouth had the tough loss, but wasn't at necessarily full power. When you're talking state playoffs, as far as the division, who knows for those teams? They're the underdogs to Point Borough. But to me, that's a crucial game when you look back as far as your seeding or even qualifying for the state playoffs. That seems like a big game to me.
Julian Jones is looking dynamic. The running back. They didn't play with Anthony Jen. I don't know exactly why he didn't play. I'm hoping he will play because he's having a great preseason and he had a great week 1. But Kyle Verest, it looks like he's adapting to the new offense, running the football, and by the way, catching the football, which he's one of the best.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. I mean, he's another one of those sort of do-it-all players, and he's been clutch. When they've needed big plays in the second half, because their last 2 games have been really close. He's been right there, in the middle of every time.
I give a lot of credit to Coach Papkin and the staff because you play your first game. I mean, everybody was like, why are you playing RBC? They lost quite handily, but they came back the last 2 weeks, and to right now, they're looking at maybe 3-1.
Yeah. No, and again, I think in a way, though, that may have helped them playing RBC because you play them and you're like, we're probably not going to see a better team than that the rest of the regular season, until the state playoffs. So, everything else doesn't seem as intense or overwhelming after you see a team like that in the first game. All right, when we're talking the rest of the games here from week 3, real quick, Toms River North, number 2 team at home against Central. You got to think another game on their way to the Colonial Division title, I would think.
Micah Ford, is he rolling or what? He's putting up some John Madden stats. He really is, man. He's looking really good. And Coach Oz has a lot of weapons there. Playing a Central team that's kind of injured. They got 3 dudes that are injured. The coaches have to do be more creative, which they have been. They're doing a nice job keeping it together. But Central's got their three dudes out against a tough Tom Driven North team on the road.
And then staying in that division, Middletown North with Sheehan coming off a nice win over Central. They're now heading to Lacey, which is still searching for its first victory.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that. Last year was a wild game. Of course, Lacey was a veteran football team, and they came out victorious at the end. But Luke Sheehan is no joke. I mean, he's the real deal. Big, strong quarterback in a great system. I think he's going to have another big day against Lacey Township.
And then also staying in the one other game in that division is Long Branch coming off a big win over Lacey, heading, gosh, how far is the bus ride from Long Branch to,
yeah,
exit 63 there for Southern Regional?
Yeah, you're right. And it's going to be a hostile environment. Southern does a great job with the atmosphere there. Chucky Jr. Does a great job there playing Long Branch. I'm going to tell you right now, don't be surprised if Southern's in this football game to the end, because they play good defense. They have a young group of guys, a very talented sophomore class. I think they play around 5 sophomores, Southern Regional, against a Long Branch team that is looking good, but they're playing away now for the first time.
And then we'll go into the Constitution Division. We talked about the changes Howell made last week. It'll be interesting to see them now from the opening snap here at Freehold Township in the Constitution Division. And Township coming off a tough game.
Yeah, all those Freehold Township school district teams, when they play each other, they all have this. They know each other, and when you know each other, they're excited and they can't wait to play each other.
Plus, Corey Davies, the head coach of Township, going against a team where he was the longtime successful head coach that led them to a state title at Howell.
Yeah, and we said this before about Freehold Township. When they have an off game, the next week they bounce back. And this would be another great way for Corey to bounce back against a very good Howell football team.
Yeah, and I think Howell needs this game to keep pace in the division race in case anyone else slips up. Maybe you can get yourself a tie for the title, something like that.
Howell needs this game. Yep, Howell needs this game.
And then Jackson Memorial, who I would consider one of the front runners in that division, welcoming Colts Neck to the jungle. Colts Neck coming off a big win, 50 points on Freehold Borough, but this taking a big step up in competition now against Jackson. Yeah,
this is 2 evenly matched teams, 2 physical teams. I think Jackson might be slightly more athletic on the perimeter, but this is a very winnable game for Colts Neck. But if Jackson wins, I think Jackson may be back to their olden days, being 3-0 and being ranked pretty high, bringing back some memories of those good football teams at Jackson.
And you talk about 2, long established programs in the Shore Conference. In the Freedom Division, Brick at Neptune. Neptune still searching for that first victory after a couple lopsided losses against good teams. Brick coming off a win.
Yeah, Brick cannot have a drop game and lose to Neptune. They're playing them on the road. When you thought Brick was down 2 weeks ago, what they do? They beat Tom River South in an emotional, traditional rivalry game. Now they got Neptune. Neptune's got some talent with Devon Kraft and Banks, one of the better linemen in the Shore. So this is a must-win for Neptune and Brick. If they win this game, they're going to be sitting pretty good with a very, very young football team.
And speaking of must-wins, RBR, Red Bank Regional, off to an 0-2 start, and they're at home against Toms River South, also coming off a loss. This feels like one of those games, again, where your season, you get the win, your season's still alive, you're still into it. You don't. If you're Red Bank, you're 0-3, and now you're really in kind of panic mode as far as like your playoff chances and all the rest of that are concerned.
Correct. Red Bank is very explosive football team. They got the horses, and it's going to take that one win to get them going for the season.
Defensively, that's where they really need. They've struggled the first couple of weeks, so if they can shore that area up, they can help turn things around.
Yeah, Tom River South hasn't been very explosive offensively yet this year, so this might help Red Bank. But if Red Bank takes the lead early, it could be pretty beneficial for their team.
And Homedale is going to be looking for their first win. And the bad news: Point Pleasant Borough is coming to town after a just dominating win against Manasquan. I mean, that's a really tall order for Homedale. I guess main thing you could hope for is a letdown. But being around that Point Borough team, it doesn't seem like the type of team that can get caught in a letdown.
I don't think those coaches are going to allow a letdown at Homedale. Homedale has a different style of football too. They're very physical, run an unorthodox type of veer, almost similar to what Point Borough does in a way. But the clock will be running in that game. There won't be a lot of drop passes. Just like unlike last week, it was so long. With all the injuries, if there's no injuries in this game, it's going to go quick because there's going to be a lot of running and a lot of good physical football being played in that game.
All right, and then we'll go down to your neck of the woods there in Ocean County. We got Jackson Liberty at Barnegat. Barnegat coming off it was a win, 7-6.
Well, couldn't.
They're playing Jackson Liberty at home, and that's an old B South rivalry that they've played those teams. Played together against each other for years, and Liberty coming off a tough one.
I don't know what to take. It's too early with Liberty. I don't know. They beat Keensburg and then lost to Matawan. So they won a blowout game. They got blown out in the other one. Barnegat's got star power with Jojo Bivens. It's home. They're always tough to play at home, and there's no such thing as an ugly win when you think back at it. A win's a win, right?
Exactly. And Manchester, looking for the rare 3-0 start. They're 2-0 for the first time in 5 years. They're at home against another young team looking to make a name for themselves in Matawan.
I mean, it's going to be exciting in the stands at Manchester. Like you said, I don't think they've been 3-0. I don't know if it was when was the last time they were in 3-0. I don't know if they ever were 3-0. Or was Wilkie 2 years ago 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that they've had. I mean, this is a program that has barely experienced the state playoffs in its entire history. So, this would be big to get to 3-0 for them. Playing
Matawan, who now just jumped into the top 20, has looked good.
And Matawan's dangerous. They gave Raritan a scare on opening night and then picked up a win last week. So, they seem like they're young and hungry and improving. So. They would love nothing more than go down there and just spoil this whole Manchester.
Who start. I'm very curious about next week is Pinelands and East, and I'm going to tell you why. Pinelands played real well at Barnegat. Coulda, shoulda won according to them. 7-6 game, touchdown call back. Stopped JoJo Bivens. Playing against a Toms River East team on the road who just lost to Manchester. Are they going to turn it around and bounce back East? They lost 2 tough games. They lost to the rival South at the end, and then lost to Manchester last week. So this is a big game for both programs to see where their identity of their team is.
And speaking of another big game as far as the importance of a great start, similar to Manchester, Marlborough hosting a young Freehold Borough team looking to go to 3-0 themselves for the second straight year. They're the heavy favorite in that game. Freehold Borough's really struggled their first 2 games. I mean, this is a great opportunity to just kind of keep building the momentum if you're the Mustangs.
Yeah, they're looking good. They're playing great defense, and they're running the football. When you have that mix, and A.J. Schwartz is very efficient throwing the football on sprints to Ryan, to Mendez, they look good. They're really focused, and they have experience. So I don't see them falling this week.
Right. They seem to definitely be a team on a mission, to set up that big game, to clinch playoff berths, to make a run at division title, all that. But obviously, you can't overlook Freehold. You have to handle your business.
And Point Beach, and Keyport. Keyport just won a big win last week against Asbury Park. And Point Beach is a team that everybody keeps talking about. They're going to be the most improved team in the Shore Conference. They played a tough game against Pinelands. And think of that. They played Pinelands, lost 19-14 on the road. And then
they were trailing the game, against Keensburg there early and came roaring back in that.
And then this is a key game for. Going 2-1 or going 1-2 is a huge turn in your record. It really, really is. And Shore playing Keensburg, I think Shore is going to be a state playoff contender type team playing against a Keensburg team that has a lot of key players that they lost last year for Coach Reed. It's never good to go against a Casatino team when they're starting to roll, and they rolled last week.
They got the win over Lakewood to kind of right the ship a little bit, and I think this is where they're looking to start to rattle off a bunch of wins in a row.
I have one question though: Who is Camden Mastery Charter?
I thought you were going to give me a detailed breakdown of that game, of their roster and everyone they have for the big Lakewood game.
I don't even think they're in the GPS. To be honest.
Camden Mastery Charter. Yeah,
I'm going to tell you right now, though.
Say that's really been on my radar.
Hopefully
the Piners get a win, right? I mean, that a team like that, they're a team that struggled with numbers.
Yeah.
And things like that the last couple of years. They always have some players. You saw them in the season opener against Manchester. They were winning early on. So yeah, that's just a game where like, hey, let's get in the win column. Let's feel good about ourselves. And move
Well, if one of our guys on our staff picks Camden Mastery Charter, I'm going to question them. Well, that was a good take on this week 3's games. I appreciate it. A lot of football to be played, and I can't wait to see where the chips fall and all where the storylines will lead us to next week in our talk show.